Flat Earth Debate live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by One Deck, Neil, Click OK, Sensual Goat, Jin, and a whole bunch of people in the Flat Earth Debate Discord server. So, welcome one and all.
How are you?
How are you all? Yes.
I'm all right.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Adams, in contact Nathan Oakley immediately.
I didn't hear a
You know
word
you've
of
got to
that,
do
Jin.
that. So do
Breaking
it.
up.
No, I was saying that message to Adam to contact you immediately if he's listening to the show.
Why would you do that? What are you
I
talking
think
about?
it's too late.
What are you talking about, Jin?
Well, because you said
Oh no,
that
I thought that you Brian sent you a message or something that you were to contact Adam, and I thought it should be the other way around. He should be contacting you straight away.
So I can
That's all.
so I can ignore him directly. What are you talking about?
Well, okay, you might ignore him directly, but it's the right thing to do, though. You know, he might have an explanation to something.
I'm
what
not
we're
interested.
saying is when
Did you not
when
hear
somebody's got a problem with somebody, they call them. They don't go to somebody else.
Did
If
you
I
not hear
got
the
a
bit
problem
where-
with you, Nathan, I'm going to call you.
Hello. He's not talking to you, Neil. No, Jin. No, I've lost all interest. I gave deadlines, timelines, ultimatums in terms of what I wanted and when I wanted it by. At which point, once the line's drawn under that, I'm not interested anymore. I don't care what anybody wants to communicate with me in that regard. So no, I don't care. I'm not going to be interested, regardless of if anybody gets in touch in that regard. My interest waned a time ago. So no, you didn't need to do that.
Well, that's okay. That's very understandable from your point. Thank you very much.
No problem. Ideally, you wouldn't take it upon yourself to suggest people do things on my behalf in future, but thank you anyway. Anyway, let's do housekeeping in the truest sense of the word, as Neil was moaning yesterday that we haven't done housekeeping. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
I don't know. Let me call
Negative.
Adam and see.
Hang on, absolutely not there.
What's with all the references to my former, now sacked, trumped-up secretary? I don't get it.
Well, when you were starting the show, we were having a little conversation. And the conversation was, and I said exactly what you said. The deadline was, it's over. They should have contacted you immediately instead of going through Brian. What kind of nonsense is this? Why wasn't that done in the beginning? I got a problem with somebody, I call them. I got an issue with somebody, I call them. I don't call One Deck to get in touch with Jin. Just man up. It's too late anyway.
Yeah, it's too late. Job's a good one. My wife's already on chapter 8. The skeleton's being formed. While it's being formed, I'm writing various different chapters about various different people. I wrote about you today, Neil, during my eldest daughter's art history class. I wrote a little bit about you. Do you want me to see if I can extract it? And without giving too much away. Man, there's a lot I've written. See if I can find the bit about Neil. Talk amongst yourselves for a second, otherwise it's going to be a lot of dead air where I try and find this bit about
I'll
Neil.
say something. Nathan, you would be the perfect guy growing up in Brooklyn because you are a scutch. So it goes from nobody getting a mention to freaking Huey and Adam getting a mention to them wanting authorship, the whole thing going out the window, you doing it over again from what you have by reading through the, listening to the videos. right, that you recorded, and then you're telling stories about everybody, you are going to piss so many people off.
It's a
Is it
comedy of
about
errors.
Neil's time in prison?
No, it's not about Neil's time in prison, you cheeky sod. There we go, I found it. I'll just read out a couple of sentences. While some of this information might have some truth to it, 90% of it was A, unrelated to how flat Earth was and always will be measured, even when claiming you're on a ball, and B, served only to alienate the general public away from the subject of flat Earth based on conspiracy subjects that surrounded it and the conspiracy theories that believed, rather than measured, Earth as a flat plane. In late 2025, one of the participants of my show Flat Earth Debate, Neil Constantino, stated that flat roads come from conspiracy, a spin on the fact that, quote, all roads lead to a flat Earth, the latter being an acknowledgement that when you look at any argument in the subject of flat Earth, you will eventually find yourself measuring the Earth flat, like with horizontal distances. And to get around this awful fact required in globe Earth claims. It is required to make the subject of flat Earth not about measurements, unless using them to argue about how a ball should or should not function, ignoring how flat the measurements are, but instead focusing on how people are and how crazy they are when they talk about melting buildings, Antiquitech, Mandela Effect, 9/11 Truth, clone centres, and much, much more.
I guess that answers your
Nice.
first housekeeping question. You need to measure the Earth flat first to extrapolate the sphere to then come to a center of the Earth.
Yeah, it's a derivation, if I could get the word out, of the radial value that you can either extrapolate from Al-Biruni's methodology of dip angle when utilising parallel eye level to surface level, horizontal distance and elevation angle measurements of a flat Earth to a mountain to gain its height with trig. Alternatively, you can use the minimum elevation angle of Polaris, again with a flat circle, to derive a radius, flat and straight, to then infer sphericity based on the angle of the Polaris-based system that you've utilised, with its minimum being the equator or equatorial plane. So therefore, your centre of the presupposed spherical Earth isn't so much a centre of a presupposed spherical Earth, and more centre of a Earth that's been measured flat to derive a inference of sphericity, violating the initial baseline that you measured flat to achieve it.
Very good.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
90.
You're gonna need a flat Earth for that.
Check. No. In the school books, all right? Well, kids are in school right now learning this, that I think it's 92 million miles away at this present day.
Again, to achieve that, you need to measure Earth flat to derive a radial value for the equator. Not a globe Earth outside edge thereof, but the flat plane that gives you a minimum visible angle to the star known as Polaris, or the North Star. Once you've got that radial value at 3959, or a close approximation there too, you can then superimpose that value onto Venus and scale the whole Keplerian orbital motion. That's Christian Huygens' contribution to the heliocentric worldview. Once you've got that, that's to say you've got the orbital motion, which doesn't give you any distance and doesn't give you any size. It just gives you the motion. Heliocentric in nature, heliocentric being sun-centric, as in Helios being the sun, centric at the centre. Well, once you've got that, you can then, with Christian Huygens' use of the superimposition of Earth's radius derived from flat Earth measurements onto Venus for its transit in front of the sun. That's to say, when Venus occults the sun, partially, the transit of Venus, you can use that with an assumption that Venus has the same radial value as Earth to scale everything, at which point you get your 1 AU value, or 93 million miles. But you need a flat Earth to start the whole process off, to start superimposing that flat Earth radial derivation onto Venus.
But I don't think they teach that.
No, they don't teach that, Neil. They just tell you that they've got the distance, and they know because we know. Because aren't we smart? Got very expensive telescopes and that. Or they claim they're bouncing radar off black bodies.
It's 46 million miles.
Is that in Sasha's?
Yeah, because in my calculation, the Venus is the half size of the Earth.
You're going to need a flat Earth to derive any value for a radial spherical Venus value in Kepler's orbital motion. You can't just decide that you're going to give it a different name and give it a different value. You need something else to scale it with. You can't just randomly do it like Huygens did. How dare you? Only Huygens can randomly ascribe Earth's flat Earth measured radial value onto Venus. You're not allowed to do that. You're not Christian Huygens.
But I can assume better than them.
Sorry to interrupt you there. You might want to try J. Tolan Media 1, because he seems to have given an estimate of 5,000 miles from the Earth's surface to the sun using his optical. I'll post the video in the side chat for those who are listening, okay?
Yeah, but if you're using elevation angles to measure the sun, it will change.
He needed a flat Earth for that, for sure.
What I was going to say is, as the sun reaches the horizon, does that mean it's at zero? Is the height zero?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. The sun is still over a different part of the land with a zenith position. You can still have the sun over X piece of land at your zenith, whilst next man is looking at it on the horizon. That doesn't mean it reaches a value of zero, therefore is touching the ground. It just means that you're measuring its elevation angle to be zero. You can't acquire heights through extrapolated elevation angle measurements of the lights in the sky. It's not possible.
No, I meant on using the equipment, it would be zero, wouldn't it? Because that's where it's at, on the horizon. It's not on the horizon for somebody else, obviously, in another country. Obviously not.
Yeah, but that means you've got multiple different variations of angle at any given time. Well, are you saying that it's varying in its altitude at a given time? Of course not.
No.
Also, when you raise in altitude, the elevation angle does not change from your local position. You can still measure the same elevation angle. So if you go up 1,000 feet, you'd expect the sun to decrease in angle. But it doesn't. Neither do the stars. The only exception to that rule is when you're looking at the sun at the diffraction limit on the horizon, where it can reach and breach a limitation of angular resolution because it's close to the deck from your perspective. And then when you raise in elevation, you increase the angle, bringing it back from the diffraction limit. But beyond that exception to the rule, you cannot change the angle as you raise in altitude. The reason we can utilize what's on screen now, that's acquisition of co-altitude and circle of equal elevation, that's a flat Earth prerequisite elevation angle measurement off a flat surface, is because the lights do not change as you raise in altitude. Ergo, you cannot ascribe a height to the stars or sun. It's not possible.
Or physicality.
So what does that tell you about the sun?
Say again?
What does that tell you about the sun? And like where it is?
Doesn't tell you anything.
Here we go.
Doesn't tell you anything. It just tells you can't measure its height.
Well, it's somewhere, right?
Yeah, in
Or
the
wrong.
sky.
It's above a certain position
Always.
on a map when you're navigating with it and measuring angles with it.
It's not the same as a terrestrial object on Earth.
Doesn't behave
Okay,
the
but if
same.
it
as-
exists somewhere, surely you must be able to, in some way, find its position.
It sounds like, Nez, it sounds like you really want to make a claim about something, so why don't you just do it?
Yeah, go for it, Mez.
No, I'm asking a question.
I've answered it
I'm asking the
twice.
same question you're asking.
Hold on. Everyone else chill.
Let's try
Everyone else chill.
to make a distance.
Oh my god. I've answered you twice. No, you can't measure its height. Do you understand that? And why? If not, I'll go through it again with you, Mez, if you're slow.
Well, yeah, if the Earth's flat, I get what you're saying.
That's not what I said.
So what is it? Is it magical?
That's not what I said. So you're slow. Did you not understand what I said?
Yeah, if you measure its height using elevation angles.
No, you can't measure its
When
height
it's
using
on the
elevation angles, and I explained why.
Yeah, if you
so
try
you just don't
to.
understand. You're just too
If
slow.
you try to.
Now you're talking through me. I'll remove you if you do it again. One more chance to shut your mouth while I talk. Okay, bye-bye, wanker.
All right.
No,
Classified
unlike
by
Mez, who is incapable of listening, the elevation angle does not change as you raise in elevation. That's to say, as you go up in height, the angle does not change. Now, if it was a physical item with a physical location that you could measure, it would decrease in angle as you raised in height. If you're looking at a distant tree and you raise in altitude, the angle to the tree reduces as you increase your elevation. The stars do not do that, and neither does the sun. Ergo, you cannot measure its height. Now, bull-believing idiots will come along and laugh at me and talk through me while I explain why you cannot acquire the height. Now, if you're a baller, you both have a height at a fixed value based on Christian Huygens and Keplerian orbital motion, and simultaneously have an infinite distance when applying it to the celestial sphere when measuring angles from hell. So you guys on the ball side have two different heights that are incongruent with one another. Me, I point out that based on the way it is measured, you cannot ascribe a height. Now, I've explained that 3 times. That's why he's been removed, because instead of listening, he said, you said you can't measure the height. No, you can't alter the angle with elevation. Those are two very different things. You're not trying to measure height. You're not getting a tape measure up to it. But laugh at me while I'm trying to explain that to you for the 3rd time, and I'll just remove you.
That's the best thing to do.
Don't laugh at me, prick.
We went through this a while
He's
ago.
gone
If they
anyway.
don't obey the...
He left.
We've
I
spent
have
10 years studying this stuff.
a diagram in the main text chat that just goes over exactly what Nathan was saying about how your height doesn't change if somebody wants to grab it. It's rudimentary, but it illustrates the point very clearly.
It also illustrates how rude ballers are. It's like, that guy wasn't here to actually discuss things with us. He was here to laugh while I explained something for the 3rd time that he hadn't comprehended. What with his basic education that he got for free.
Well, Nathan, it's glaring. It's a glaring contradiction to them, and it's painful to them when they hear something like that, like, because they have a distance, right? Contradictory because it's infinite, but then they give you 93 million miles or whatever. But we went over this a long time ago, how the celestial bodies do not obey the geometry that terrestrial things have on Earth. It's obvious.
Even if you did a quick search, transits of Venus, astronomers used the time it took Venus to cross the face of the sun as seen from 2 widely separated points on Earth. That's a distance across the surface level. This allowed them to use triangulation to calculate the distance to Venus. So it's telling you what they're doing anyway. I mean, that's the rhetoric. It's telling you the truth. It's triangulation. It's 2 points on Earth, the distance between them, horizontal. And then they do a calculation after the measurement, as usual.
Yeah, but you need a measurement first. So how did they do the calculation if they don't have an exact measurement? If they don't line up, you got to throw the calculations out.
Well, I mean, you just take your elevation angle to Venus. I forgot all about that talking point because I haven't heard of Glober State in a while. I used to love it because I used to get so outraged how they would just assume the size of Venus and not even realize all the elevation angles they have to take before that.
Well, it's not exactly an assumption. It's a bit of a long word, a superimposition of Earth's radius onto Venus. So Anthony Riley was sat on that little nugget of information for about a year, waiting for some baller to come in and just bring it up so he could quote the ingenious assumption, end quote, made by Christian Huygens when he just arbitrarily ascribed Earth's radius to Venus. Now, there's no justifiable reason to do it further to the application after you've derived orbital motion from flat Earth measurements in the first place. It's just another layer upon layer of bullshit that Anthony Riley knew that it was described in the story of Huygens as an, quote, ingenious assumption. Well, okay, so he assumed Venus had the same size as Earth. Anthony Riley just never mentioned that that assumption was based on a flat Earth measurement when deriving radial values. At the time, we were on the vibe of getting people like Mick West to concede how they were assuming Earth had a radius to begin with. That is to say, begging the question of sphericity to begin with a radius value that's already in place. Now, 5 years, 6, 7 years later, we're pointing out that no, it's not an assumption. It's a measurement of Earth as a flat plane that gets you to your radial value to superimpose onto Venus and then scale the orbital motions of Kepler.
I was going to say, is that the ingenious assumption? But you cleared it up.
The ingenious assumption is that Venus has the same radius as Earth in a heliocentric Keplerian worldview. That's the ingenious assumption.
But
So he just
Nathan,
looked
I
at
posted
Venus.
I don't know if it's real photo about the history of the distance to the sun. It's written that Kepler was thinking that it's 13 million miles away, not 93.
Yeah, well, he didn't know how to scale it. He's got no reason to give a value at all. There's no justifiable reason for Kepler to ascribe distance because he cannot scale it with anything. You need the, quote, ingenious assumption offered up later by Huygens to do that. Without that, you don't have anything to scale it with.
Yeah. How did he have the 13 million in the first place? I mean, yeah, absolutely. Pure assumptions going on there.
Well, it's changed
Great
many
phrase,
times.
that, by the way.
Over the years. I remember Jeranism covering this, again, 10 years ago, pointing out all the various different values that all the different astronomers had just guessed. And it changes. Sometimes it's further, sometimes it's closer. And all of those assumed values, it never was pointed out by Jeran that in order to derive the initial radial value of Earth as a sphere, you need to measure it flat, like this measurement on screen now. If the light was Polaris and you back away from it, the angle to it will decrease. Well, that's your latitude grid. Well, that's what you end up with getting the radius from. If you use Polaris at its minimum, that's the equatorial minimal value, which is also superimposed onto the inference that you've got an outside edge of a sphere with that same value, based on the minimum elevation angle measurement of a flat Earth using Polaris.
Something's not making sense. So he just looked at Venus and said, well, if Venus is the same size as Earth, let me go to work now. There's got to be something else to it.
Well, no, you need something to scale it with. And if you've got something that's got enough layers on top of your assumption, you can get away with it. So in the case of the transit of Venus, most laymen won't even know what that means. They won't know that the transit of Venus is just one light moving in front of another. If you describe it as an occultation, again, you go, what's that mean? But most people are too embarrassed to say they don't know what a word means, let alone try and dive into how that is extrapolated, where he got the original radius value to superimpose in the first instance. Where was that measured? Nobody's going to ask those questions. Most people aren't going to realise that's a question that should even be asked. You're like, this is a very smart man then. Huygens is a very smart man. He knows. Therefore, I don't need to dedicate any of my little brain to it. It's already been done.
So you can't get the distance or size of any of these lights in the sky.
No.
Not possible.
So then why? So then why day after day are teachers teaching this in school that Jupiter is so big and this and that and the other thing, and this is what Mars is and this is how big Mars is? Why are they getting away with that? Wouldn't you be upset?
Because most of the schools are run by the churches. And who came up with these heliocentric motions? The church. So it's a church-based education that most people receive. And it is in that church-based education that the church rhetoric of heliocentrism is passed down to the younger generation year on year. But it's because the churches run the schools, that's why. But nobody thinks about that when they go to their, in England, Church of England school. Nobody's giving it any thought. When you go to Our Lady of Compassion School in Ireland, you're not thinking, oh, right, this is a church-run school. You just think, oh, it's got a church name because it's connected to the church. So on Remembrance Sunday, we can go down and, give thanks and say our prayers. But you don't give it a second thought that the government that's being or that's supplying the funding to the school is ultimately led by and governed by church rhetoric. That's what heliocentrism is. Again, back to Jaron, him talking about him being amazed that his teachers in his Catholic or Jesuit education were telling him about heliocentrism without buy or leave. They didn't care. It was like, well, why would that be the case? Well, because they came up with it.
Well, it's trusting. Your kids come home, they learn how to read, they learn how to write, they're learning arithmetic. So, I mean, of course, you trust them. So if they're teaching them about a solar system, it's got to be legit because they learned how to read, write, and add. So it's got to be. Parents today have to start questioning what's going on. This has to come out. Because they're being taught a lie. They're being taught something that's not true. They're being taught 2 + 2 = 6.
Yes, Neil, they are. But that's why I homeschool. I got so many nice comments on my video that I made. So I did a school report video, as much as that sounds weird considering we homeschool or home educate. I get told off by other people in the home education field when I say, yeah, we homeschool our kids. They're like, it's not homeschool, it's home education. Like, get lost. It's just homeschool.
Yeah, but you still have to, but okay, how can I phrase this? Is it part of your curriculum to teach them about the solar system and where we are as Earth being the third planet from the sun?
Yeah,
Don't they have to learn those things?
Yes and no. So it will occasionally come up on the material that they're provided with. So they'll be in front of their iPads and they'll be doing Kumon or whatever, some education source material that they're working on. And it will mention something heliocentric. And normally I'll start tutting and I'll explain it to them and then explain why it's wrong. I used to just
That's the beauty of home education.
When they were younger, I wouldn't explain how it was wrong. I would just give them the standard fare rhetoric of heliocentrism. And as the older one got older, she started asking more and more questions. Well, you say something else on your show, Daddy. I'm like, yes, but if I don't teach you third rock from the sun, heliocentrism, Keplerian motion, if I don't teach you this stuff, it will be alien to you when someone else brings it up, and you need to know what it is to know to tacitly accept it so you can ignore it. Now, the fact that they, my eldest one especially, know better wouldn't be very useful if they were faced with a heliocentric concept that they were completely unfamiliar with. Suddenly they'd be asking some random kid in one class about that random aspect of heliocentrism. Now, I want them to know what it is, and I want them to know that it's from the Roman Catholic Church and it's part of the Roman Catholic religion. When they understand that, I can teach it them in the same way I teach other religions. Or not me, my wife tends to dip into Sikhs and Hindus and all the other religions. We often teach them. So she was teaching them about Halloween, and I had a term that I'd never heard while she was teaching them. She was saying it was souring or something like that. For Halloween. I'm like, what's that? She's like, well, that's the origins of Halloween. I'm like, is it? So I went and looked it up, and sure enough, she's teaching them something I've never even heard of. So I'm like, wow, the origins of Halloween are a very different affair to what I previously understood them to be. I just thought it was All Hallows Eve and, you know, the slight alteration to the name, and it's witches and witchcraft and Day of the Dead, and that's about it, right? Well, no, there's a lot more to it that I had never even appreciated. And I am in no doubt no one gets taught this stuff in schools. But when it comes to these various different religious festivals, so Diwali, you know, my wife goes out of her way to make sure that they are acutely aware of what it is. So when Indian neighbours go out for Halloween, they're talking to each other about what's going on for them, Diwali, and what's going on for us, Halloween. And my kids are talking to their kids on a level that they can understand both religious aspects of their lives without having to talk past each other. Now, don't get me wrong, the younger kids didn't really understand what Halloween was. These are Indian kids, and they just didn't get it. But they knew that they were out getting sweets. You know what I mean?
So where did it stem from? The Druids? Because
I
it
couldn't
sounds
tell
like
you,
you're
I
coming
didn't-
from somewhere else.
I couldn't tell you. I watched one video on it, Neil, because my wife had asked me to get the pronunciation correct. So I went and dug a video out, and then after watching 45 minutes of it, the pronunciation was said right at the end of the video, which I then called her in for. And I'm like, here you go, here's how you say it. But I mean, I couldn't remember. It's like most things I study, if I'm genuinely interested in them, I'll need to watch things 10 times before I could, give it even the slightest chance of repeating that information back in a coherent way. Having watched something once, I couldn't tell you. I can't even pronounce the name of it. And it was a week ago, so, Someone from the chat will tell us, but the origins...
Sam Hine or something. It's a Celtic festival. Is that what you're saying? Is that the word you're looking for? SAMHAIN?
No, that's different.
Yeah,
You're thinking of salad, and you're thinking of champagne. I think they're separate.
something like that.
So this is different than the information your wife gave. I'd like to find out about that.
Well, I was intrigued, but for the fact that I hadn't heard it before. So, I probably wouldn't have been, when she goes through Diwali each year, I'm less interested each year she goes through it because, having been brought up in Birmingham, I was acutely familiar with the Festival of Light and what it was and what it meant to that particular group of people. But when my wife's teaching it to my kids, obviously I haven't got a great deal of interest in it, the lesson that is. But when you hear something that you haven't heard before, you're like, what's that? I've never heard of that. And she's taught them about Saturnalia and all of those sorts of things that have come up on the show. And then there's a cross-pollination with my kids' education that you just don't expect. I'm like, oh, wow, you're covering that. I covered that on my show.
Usually as well, Halloween, it falls on what they call a cross-quarter day. It's the halfway point between the equinox and the solstice.
Not exactly. So in this instance, it was about 4 days prior. But yes, you're right. It is the halfway between the solstice and the, what's it called? The equinox.
Equinox.
Yeah. So it's a midpoint. Yes, exactly. Those were the sorts of things in this video. And that's where it typically fell to celebrate. There's like it was describing it as like a transition. So you've got, what are they called? Like cherubs, but they're like naughty cherubs that would come and steal your baby and replace it with a changeling. And then people would want to cast out the demons in their babies because they thought that they'd been replaced with changelings. And a lot of this was ridicule for disabled kids, basically. It was quite harsh listening to this stuff in terms of how barbaric people were back in the day with their own kids. You're like, wow. Anyway, very unpleasant discussion that we're having.
Well, the education system.
Just saying, you get some mezzies coming in, just come in and say, what I was saying the other day. Someone was saying, when we were saying the debate's over, and well, the only people that come in now is just to sort of disturb it and cause chaos. If Mez has got something to say useful, sure, we'll all listen. If he doesn't stop interrupting and ad hominem attacking everybody, if he's got some sort of, wants to tell us something about how he feels the distance to the sun is measured, well, lay it down on the table. But even if you use your own rhetoric, like I've just pointed out earlier, it's describing the distance between 2 points on the surface of Earth, and then triangulation's used. Yeah, there's a lot of assumptions going on, but that, you've got 2 points on the surface of Earth and triangulation.
Yeah, I mean,
can't get away from that.
That guy was asking us why we wouldn't measure the height of a sun or star. It's like, well, when we've gone through how you cannot measure a height of a star, when you get the guy laughing in response in the middle of a sentence, you're like, I don't want to talk to this person. Why should I get annoyed with somebody who's clearly not here to extend any sort of respect? He's laughing at us. Like, get lost. You're not demonstrating a respectful nature. So why would I want to talk to you?
You shouldn't. You did the right thing.
He's clearly... Sorry to cut you off there. No, he's clearly of the opinion that a measurement to the sun can be made, you see. That's why he laughed. His whole demeanour was of that that you don't know what you're talking about because we've measured the distance to the sun. That was his attitude.
Yeah, with elevation angles. It's one of the things I had Red Rhetoric over a barrel with recently. So Red Rhetoric was asserting that you can take triangulation into account when utilising horizontal distance measurements for angles to the sun and moon. To then infer that the baseline that you've just used for your trig is bent? No, you're just measuring Earth flat. But they want to, as you put it one day, whistle past things like the flat Earth prerequisite horizontal distance measurement and elevation angle from a baseline that's flat to suggest that the baseline's curved after you've acquired your little number with a degree symbol after it off a flat Earth. As long as nobody mentions that you've got that little number with a degree symbol off a flat Earth, you can carry on whistling past the flat Earth prerequisite elevation angle measurement and start inferring sphericity and distance based on those angles. Now, in 2025, we go, you're measuring Earth flat. It's the first thing you did. You're using a horizontal distance measurement in miles. So you've measured Earth flat twice. Do you think I care what you do with a calculation using 2 flat Earth measurements? No, you've got 2 flat Earth measurements. It's the end of the discussion. So back to the original point. Is there a debate? No. Everybody's measuring Earth flat.
Even if they prove that 93 million miles away and like convince you, like, look, this is really 93 million miles, that doesn't change the the surface, unfortunately.
You can't get to that distance without the surface being measured flat, I'm afraid, Sasha. So
yeah, I know, but it's like a story about that flat earthers saying that you cannot measure, but we will prove them that we can measure. And if they can prove that they can measure, that means Earth is a sphere. It's the same with every argument. If I prove them that gravity exists, Earth will be sphere. If I prove them, but I cannot prove them that surface is curving, only that thing. I can prove all other things, you know, and Earth is a sphere. I only cannot prove that Earth is, you know, spherical. But I can prove that gravity exists. I can prove that gradient exists. I can prove that refraction exists. I can prove. Do you understand?
Yeah, they can offer up a multitude of apologies. And when deriving their sphericity, it's like on screen now. You're measuring a flat equatorial plane with flat directionality, north, south, east, and west, for a Polaris angle that you can then infer is the actual surface the angle was measured through.
I will claim now something. Listen this carefully. But people humans cannot measure this radius. It's impossible. Can you get it? It's impossible for human being to measure this radius of 3,959 miles. To have that sphere and to measure radius, or you need to cut the half of the sphere and to measure distance, I don't know how, or to measure every 360 degrees, that means that's 69 miles, what they're saying, you know, in every direction, every 10 miles, 5 miles, every time. And it must drop in every time, in, you know, across the mountain. It's impossible to measure that in reality.
Sure. And what you're saying is the extrapolation of 1 degree for every 60 nautical miles, that's a degree drop of Polaris with respect to the horizon as you back away from it, translatable as 69 statute or 60 nautical miles for the distance travelled for the 1 degree drop. Well, is that proven? I don't care. It's not my measurement. I haven't measured it, nor do I need to. What I need to do is point out that when measuring it to create a ball for you to believe in, not you, Sasha, but anybody who wants to believe in a ball, they require Earth be measured flat to extrapolate out that distance. So if they say, well, it's not really 60 nautical miles, it's 59. I don't care. You've derived it from a flat Earth angle. It doesn't bother me how you get there, but it's not my measurement. So when somebody comes along like earlier, well, how do you measure the height? I don't know. I'm not measuring height of stars, nor would I want to. But when we measure the stars, we measure Earth flat to achieve that. That's what I will lean into, because without that rhetoric they use, they have no rhetoric to believe in. And what are they using? Flat Earth measurements. They are using them. I'm not. I'm not depending on maps being accurate. I haven't made any maps. Now, is the Ordnance Survey map accurate? I mean, I have used those maps. I've been orienteering. But does that mean that I distrust the map because it's flat and used with horizontal distances and scales? Nah, it definitely works. But I haven't made the map. I do know that the Ordnance Survey is made with flat Earth linear horizontal measurements, though. That's just a fact.
Yeah, the Ordnance Survey map is a really, really good map, though. It's actually, I used to use it a lot in the military, in the Army Cadets. We used it a lot. Very good maps.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's a shill out there. There is a shill out there that states that if you aim if you fire a signal to the sun and you wait, 16 minutes, because it's 8 minutes to get there, 8 minutes to get back, they said, you're measuring the distance to the sun.
The sun's alleged to be a black body. You know what a black body is?
Yeah.
What's a black body?
Well, it's just a black body. It's just a black hole, isn't it? That's what I thought it was.
In terms of the signal that would reach it, it wouldn't reflect off it. No, it would just absorb all signals.
Right,
Yes.
it just goes straight through, wouldn't it?
Right, so to assert that you've got a bounce off it is to deny their rhetoric that it's a black body.
Right.
So no.
That's why I said to him it's impossible.
Yeah, I mean, even if they assert that they can do it, it's like, well, how are you going to get a reflection off a black body? That's their rhetoric, not mine.
Yeah, that's another story they told us. I like how you do it, Nathan. You stop it right there. I don't care what it is. You're using a flat plane, and this is a flat Earth debate. So right there, flat Earth, we're not skipping past it anymore. You use the flat Earth for that. Game over.
Yeah, but what they want to do is flip the burden. Well, how do you measure it then? How do you suggest we get a height then? Like the guy did when I kicked him out. Like, I'm not suggesting that I want to or would or can acquire a height. I don't care that the distance is linear and flat on a map. I don't care. Like, literally, I couldn't give a crap. But it is measured that way, regardless of whether or not I want to utilise it. It is utilised, the ground, flat, in that way, if you want to use a map. Oh, well, show me an accurate map. No. Well, you've just said that the maps are flat. They are functionally used with a flat plane of reference and horizontal distance. Well, where's the accurate map of the world? I don't know. Why are you asking me that? Well, because you're telling us it's flat. No, I'm pointing out an absolute stone cold fact when it comes to the utilisation of any map in terms of its practical application. That doesn't mean I'm suddenly the arbiter of cartography. It doesn't mean that. But they want to flip the burden and make me into some guru where I've suddenly got all the answers. And if I don't provide them, they laugh at me. That's why you get kicked out. Like, just because I point out how a map is being utilised and created and measured off a flat plane doesn't make me a cartographer. It just means I'm pointing out the obvious. The facts in terms of how maps are used. Does that mean I've suddenly got to produce a world map? No, it does not. Does it mean that I'm going to accept... Go ahead, Neil.
No, go ahead, finish up.
Does it mean that I'm going to accept being mocked and ridiculed and laughed at when I won't give you the answer that you desire after pointing out that we cannot acquire heights of stars? All right, well, how would you do it then? Well, I'm not suggesting I would. Oh, get lost. You're just here as a wind-up merchant.
What I noticed in chat, hold on, the other day, they asked you these questions because they want to compare it to their globe model, right?
Yes.
So that's all these questions are, because they think they have the answers. Well, how does it work on a flat Earth? Oh, so you really want to know how it works because you're questioning your heliocentric system? That's really what it is.
Well, model. Yeah, their model that doesn't exist, by the way. The model that doesn't exist in reality. In actuality, it does not exist at all. Yeah, that model. You know, and he fell foul for his own model in the end, because he's thinking his model works. He thinks his model exists. I mean, come on.
Well, as I said earlier...
That's why he got kicked out.
Well, there's an incongruence between their model and their assertion that there's an infinite distance to the stars when they take a angle measured off a flat plane and superimpose it into hell. On this diagram on screen now, you've got the angle terminating in hell. Well, what does that mean for the distances to the angle measurements of any star? It means that for a heliocentrist, you must, in this circumstance, when putting the stars into practical application for navigation, at an infinite distance. But simultaneously, we've got a 93 million mile sun, and we can give an AU value to all of the different scaled stars with Huygens and Kepler. But if we're going to navigate with them, they're just considered infinite. It's like, so make up your mind. Is it 93 million miles to the sun, or is it an infinite distance to the sun? Oh, right. It will be an infinite distance if we're projecting it onto the flat Earth, equatorial or extended plane to a dome around you that is used from hell to measure an angle from a flat plane. That's what you've actually got to contend with if you want to believe you're on a ball. The incongruence of having not only a distance that's been scaled through an assumption that's based on a flat Earth measurement, but simultaneously having an infinite distance so it can work on this celestial sphere. Shout out to Goldie for the super chat. Says, hello from Flat Florida.
Like Neil said, though, and even Sensual give it to Mez, saying, it sounds like you've got a claim to put on the table. Make your claim. He said, no, I'm just asking questions. That's what he was doing, asking questions. Got no claim, no evidence of anything. He's just there to ask questions about how would you do this? How does that work?
Sarcasm as well. There was a little sarcasm in his voice, yeah? In his position. There was a little sarcasm there that I detected as well.
Pardon me, you said on the celestial sphere. That's technically incorrect.
Did I? Feel free to correct me.
In and out. That's all they got. They don't have on.
Oh, right. On is like a flat Earth prerequisite, isn't it?
Well, we can't say on either? Well, this is news to me.
Not
in
on
and out,
the celestial sphere.
Sorry, John, you good.
Yeah, you can't say on the celestial sphere. Your measurements are taken from
Okay.
the plane of reference.
What's wrong with you, Nathan?
It's linguistically challenged. My problem. I'm afflicted. What do you want? Right, I've got a couple of videos that we're going to cover, although one will be covered tomorrow, one will be covered today. And they've both been provided by OneDeck. Just share the
Well
screen.
done, OneDeck.
Give it you in the Hangout so I can actually present it to the audience. Here we go. You guys see that okay?
In G+, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so this is Tyree Outdoor Experience LLC. Can't quite read it, it's very small. Anyway, I'm going to put a link to this dude's YouTube channel, which isn't particularly big. He got 500 subscribers. Nevertheless, please give this guy a bit of love. This is another example of us not wanting to deal with the anti-flat Earth rhetoric from our own pond. That's to say, your Simon Dans and your Daves are in the same pond as us. This is just a normal dude talking about compass. So let's hear what he's got to say.
So today I'm going to show you how to hold a compass. Now, holding a compass seems like an easy thing to do, but it is so difficult, or so people think.
Well, I mean, is a compass globe-shaped? Anybody?
Although it's, I think they call the flat base compass, most of them, I think.
Well, that's
Rambo had on the knife that spherical one.
Yeah.
big engine.
Sorry, so you're using a flat map, and the compass is going to be used horizontally, flat. Come on, no globe there.
Because I constantly see people holding them incorrectly, giving them poor results.
How do you hold a compass incorrectly? I mean, is it like you've got the compass and you're like, how do I hold this again? You stick it on your head.
Maybe they hold it flat instead
To
of
hold a
vertically.
compass properly, first you need to hold your hand out with your palm up, parallel to the ground.
Come again? Parallel to the
Ouch.
ground? Oh, those are one of those words
Oh,
that you
dear.
can't use on a ball, eh? One deck.
I think that's worth a J, that one.
Them poor results. To hold a compass properly, first you need to hold your hand out with your palm up, parallel to the ground.
There's up flat Earth prerequisite, and parallel flat Earth prerequisite. So that's 2 flat Earth prerequisites that you can't have unless Earth is being measured flat and utilised with a parallel to the ground. So that would mean the ground can run parallel to this flat tool that you're going to hold out flat.
Don't tip it forward or backwards.
There's more words that you can't use on a ball.
Make it as flat and parallel to the ground as possible.
But we're going to need a parallel ground for it to be parallel with and hold it as flat as possible with respect to then. Yeah, we do. Because directionality, that's north, south, east and west, are flat Earth only directions. You can't have flat, parallel, north, south, east or west if you're on a ball. You can only use this tool for directionality. Flat. That's north, that's south, that's east, that's west. Notice I didn't go, that's north and that's south, because it isn't. Yeah, you're not holding a compass parallel if you're doing that. That's when you're holding it wrong.
I love this because...
Yeah,
go ahead.
Sorry, John, go on. It's okay,
No,
go on,
you
mate.
go ahead one day. No, go ahead.
I just said I love this for the simplicity. You know, it's just a quick, some dude navigating. You navigate like Nathan just pointed out, and we point it out all the time. You know, you're going to need a flat Earth for a compass to work, and you get laughed at. And here's a guy navigating, trying to find his way around the Earth. He's telling you you've got to have it parallel, you've got to have your hand flat. Yeah, this is how it works. This is how you find your way around Earth. It's not mentioning any curvature issues.
I was going to say that I would need to have a slightly curved compass with a slightly curved needle, right? And then my hand would be curvarel, not parallel, but curvarel to the surface.
I hate to do this to you, Jin. You've just made that word up. There is no curvarel.
I know.
That was very high-pitched. You know you're bullshitting us, do you, Jin? Get out.
Up, parallel to the ground. Don't tip it forward or backwards. Make it as flat and parallel to the ground as possible.
Yeah, so we're going to need a flat ground to be parallel with then. Yeah, like the maps, like the compass itself.
If it's twisted like this, the needle doesn't tend to work as well.
So if it's in any way other than parallel and flat, it doesn't work correctly. Really? That's fascinating. So we're going to need a flat Earth for it to work correctly then. Yeah, that's because north, south, east and west are flat directions.
So hold it parallel to the ground.
Gotcha. Parallel to the flat ground, as flat as possible, when referencing the flat ground for the flat directions in two-dimensional terminology that is north, south, east and west. Gotcha. Flat, parallel, gotcha.
Next step is you want to face it forward.
Forward? Not in or out with respect to a ball that you're in the centre of hell? Just forward, like a flat two-dimensional directionality?
On every compass, there is a direction of travel arrow, and on this compass, you can see it here. It points the direction that you intend to travel.
So horizontally. So to travel in a certain direction, north, south, east or west, flat, planar direction, you're going to have a direction of travel that's horizontal then? Yeah, you will, yeah. That's right, yeah. All travel, all mapping, all cartography is flat.
So I always want that direction of arrow, the direction of travel arrow, pointing in my intended direction, okay? I always want that direction of arrow, the direction of travel arrow, pointing in
a flat Earth only prerequisite direction horizontally, a bit like I pointed earlier when I pointed that way, yeah? That's not pointing north to the top of a ball, south to the bottom of a ball, is it? No, that's not how directions work, yeah? Flat Earth only. Like we always measure Earth without exception. This is no exception. That away is horizontal. That away is flat. That away is how we measure Earth when travelling over the surface. Planar, two-dimensional, flat. Like on your compass.
In my intended direction, okay? I'm not pointing it like this. I'm not holding my compass because lots of people, they'll twist and turn their compass until their magnetic needle is pointing forward. Now what that does is that is always going to point your compass north, and you're always going to be walking north.
So north is always horizontally then? It's always an orientation with respect to a plane. It's never pointing up or down, and if you're twisting it and tilting it, it's wrong. Yeah, we know. Earth is measured and navigated flat.
Well, what if you don't want to go north? So never, ever, ever follow the magnetic needle, follow the direction of arrow, which means holding it so that it is always pointed perpendicular to your body.
There's another word that you can't use if you're on a ball. You don't have perpendicularity on a ball. You only have perpendicular to a flat plane of reference when holding this tool flat and level, as parallel as possible. Perpendicular, as he would describe.
And forward, as if that is where you plan on walking, okay?
You're certainly right, it's okay, mate. You're talking about how Earth gets navigated flat with a compass, because that's what a compass is, and that's how Earth gets navigated. There are no exceptions. All roads lead to a flat Earth. This is just one of them, directionality.
The next step is, as you move around in the wilderness, you need to fix that compass in place, okay? Have you ever seen those kids? When I grew up in the 1980s, we played Nintendo, and there was a kid on my block.
Anybody heard of this Nintendo? I don't know what he's talking about.
We said that he had Nintendo arms.
No, I never heard of it.
Why? Because when he played Mario Kart, he would hold his controller, and with every jump, his body would jump.
Yeah, that makes the car jump higher. What kind of an idiot? Don't you know how a controller works?
But what he's going through this jargon, what he's saying is once you've got it, you know, your hands flat and it's parallel to the earth that you're navigating, and you've got your direction straight ahead horizontally in north, south, east or west, you must be it's good to remain fixed in that position so that you'll get to the point where you want to go, the place where you're heading. Yeah, that's what he's trying to say. So yeah, it will be held parallel to the ground, fixed horizontally into whichever direction you choose to go.
And jump. And when he turned, he would twist and turn with the controller, always pointed forward. Now that's what I want to see when holding a compass. I want you to hold that compass, and every time you jump over an obstacle, haha, just kidding. That's Nintendo. But every time you move around in the forest, your compass is parallel to the ground, pointing forward, and it's fixed. See how when I turn my body, the compass turns with me, okay? I never will move the compass and keep my body in place. Why? Because that that direction of travel arrow must always be pointing forward. So, as I am doing this, I am moving my body like this, and this is fixed in place. So that is how to properly hold a compass.
Oh, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Let's share this video with my live audience. Please let the chappie know. He didn't give his name, so I don't know what to tell you in terms of go and say hello to... should we just make up a name? We're going to call him Tyrone. Go and tell Tyrone Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment that doesn't immediately get removed from the YouTube algorithm.
I think you should call him Mario.
We can call him Luigi. We can call him whatever we like. We're just going to give this dude a name. He didn't give himself a name at the beginning, did he? I didn't miss that. Let's see if it says.
No.
Doesn't seem to mention what his name is. Tyrone.
It's short and sweet, wasn't it? But it's, you know, them keywords he's talking about when you're navigating. It's them keywords we keep harping on about, and people say we're wrong, and no compasses only work on a globe. You know,
to do.
There you go.
But it is so difficult, or so people think, because I constantly see people holding them incorrectly, giving them poor results. To hold a compass properly, first you need to hold your hand out with your palm up, parallel to the ground.
I couldn't resist.
Does this little caption say hold hand flat in front?
Yes. Yeah, you're going to need a flat earth for these prerequisites that you can't use if you're a baller. You don't get to use these words. Sorry, One Deck, I interrupted you with my video. Your video.
It's all right, though. I was just saying it's short and sweet, but get straight to the point, you know. You're navigating the land and using parallel, horizontal, fixed. You know, the terminology we use when we're explaining these things to people who tell us compasses only work on a globe Earth, when obviously not.
Cool. Well, the hour is up. I'm going to make a thumbnail over the next minutes. Hopefully you'll chat a little bit while we're still live.
Yeah, especially if you tip that compass up and down and move your body and all that. You know, you can't get your reading. You won't be going in the right direction, and your compass won't work because the needle will be scraping the body of the compass, won't it now? Yeah, got to keep it horizontal, haven't you? Flat,
yes.
Horizontal. Yeah. Yeah, man.
It's almost as if you don't orient it with respect to the plane of reference, it won't work properly.
Yeah, or to put it another way, a compass only works on a flat Earth.
That's it. That is it. It's a flat Earth tool. That's what it is.
Yes, absolutely, Chin. It's a flat Earth tool.
Yeah, much the same as a sextant, a flat Earth tool.
Yep. Designed that way.
Yep, designed for the flat Earth. Exactly, not a globe. Not a globe. It was never designed with a globe in mind at all. Doesn't make any sense.
Well, now, given that you have this tool that requires a plane of reference to operate, and you're measuring magnetic field lines to establish north, why would you need a story about a molten iron core to give Earth a magnetic field?
Great point. You just wouldn't, would you now? Another story they told us.
It's not the ground you're measuring anyway.
Yeah, it is. He's literally measuring the ground so he can navigate it so he doesn't die when lost.
And you're covering distance on that flat Earth as well, horizontal plane.
I mean, we've seen the stories, right? Failure to understand and comprehend these things mean you end up with the Blair Witch chasing you while you go around in circles.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that. You'd end up in a corner. Nobody puts baby in the corner.
Yeah. Yeah. I fell in love with the Ordnance Survey maps when it was when I could see the mountains that I was going to climb over, and you see the series of lines and each meter, going up. And I thought, wow, this map is accurate. Look at this map, And then you get to the lake you're meant to get to. Yeah, the Ordnance Survey maps, British ones, very good indeed.
Yeah. And the heights they describe on them are with respect to sea level.
Yeah.
A flat Earth planar system utilising elevations with respect to an overall averaged level from the sea. And how high you are above or below with respect to that level. AKA your height above sea level.
Yeah.
Do you mean mean sea level then?
Say again?
I'm saying, do you mean mean sea level?
Mean sea level, indeed. Nathan Oakley is ace. He's my favourite. Subscribe and become a member today to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate, says Crockett. Thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. Anything else anybody wants to add other than how fantastic an ace? I mean, if you want to add that as well, that's great.
How else would they get the heights, Nathan? Of course they're getting it from mean sea level. Do you know any other way to get it?
Well, that is just how it is. That's how your height's described. If you look up your height in respect to anything else on the surface of Earth, it's described from sea level. If you draw an elevation profile in Google Earth, it will show you a deviation with respect to the surface level and how high or low you are with respect to that average. That's how it is measured. Again, if someone was to come along and go, well, how would you measure it on a globe? I'd be like, I don't care, I'm not measuring it. It just is measured flat.
How did you know I was going there? That was my next question.
Detect it coming, Neil. I'm one for seeing patterns. Anything else? Any more for any more? No? With that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So, another massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. And, of course, a massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, hitting me up on PayPal and Patreon, all that good stuff. Obviously, a massive thank you to the Super Chatters. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.